Broadcasting live to the world, the Kart Racing Network. And we're racing, and I have to tell you that if that was in England or in mainland Europe in the Series do, that would not have been a start, for the simple reason that looked a very, very irregular formation. However, I always feel that if there's an irregular formation and you want to penalise somebody, let the race go and penalise them subsequently, rather than keep going round for multi-formation laps. Wright Hugas III is in the lead. In second place, it's Scott Berryman. And in third place, I think that's Dave Innes. Lewis Tarif running fourth and Russ Johnson running fifth. The opening lap of 20 in the Panther Kart Chains Masters Max final here at the track at Centennial. Well, Wright Hugas is driving an Arrow chassis entered by Billet Performance. And he's from the state of Colorado, from Highlands Ranch. The Condor cam apparatus to the right of your screen you saw there. Right now we're on our regular camera shots rather than the overhead Condor cam. Scott Berryman, the man in black. Always thought that the man in black was Johnny Cash. Well, in karting terms, in Masters karting terms, it's Scott Berryman. Scott Berryman in second place is driving an Arrow. That's an Arrow chassis, of course. And he's from Boulder, Colorado, and he's being pursued by 679 Dave Innes. Ross Johnson getting in close contention there as a potential pass on Luis Tarife appeals to him. Luis Tarife in fourth place was under quite close scrutiny of Russ Johnson. In fact, I still think, looking out of the window and then back at my screen, the closest race is 4th, 5th. Dave Innes, who I spoke to earlier today, just never realised how tall he was. Some of these guys are very big. Mr. Scott Berryman is no short ass, no smallie. He's quite a big stock guy. If he wanted to move out of kart racing, there may be a job for him as an interior lineman in the American football game. Russ Johnson then putting the pressure now on Luis Tarife. Russ Johnson, who had a considerable misfortune in the pre-final. I hope we do get all of these five guys home to the finish. And right now, Russ Johnson and Luis Tarife giving us the best little scrap of the race so far. This is lap 4. Well, Russ Johnson is only about one and a quarter kart length behind. He's not. He's closed that completely, hasn't he? And looking for a way past Luis Tarife. Luis Tarife is kart 609 in the white-coloured race suit, but he's being hotly pursued by the blue and white helmeted Russ Johnson. Russ Johnson driving the Shockwave kart for the Unser team. Having said that, just detached a little bit as I was speaking. Wright Hugas III had a lead of 1.7 seconds at the end of the third lap. And just looking away from my Kart Racing Network screen and through the window of our commentary point, which I think you're going to see. We're at the lowest point of the circuit, looking up into this big bowl that is the track at Centennial. You're seeing Luis Tarife in 4th place. He was being pursued a lot more closely by Russ Johnson, but at the moment, Russ Johnson not close enough to be able to make a challenge. Well, Wright Hugas is well clear of the field. Scott Berryman comfortably clear in 2nd place, but then Dave Innes, Luis Tarife and Russ Johnson taking a lot closer order. Now, this little question that the Englishman asks you when he's doing the announcing for you. Is Luis Tarife getting a little bit closer to Dave Innes? I think the answer is that he is. So if Luis Tarife wants to give us a good little dice, we'll stay with him. In fact, all of these three guys are in our shot presently. These are 3rd, 4th and 5th. The tall guy with the white helmet and the blue racing suit is Dave Innes 3rd. The white racing suit of 609 is the only non-Colorado driver, the man from Florida, Luis Tarife, and once again Russ Johnson taking a lot closer order in 5th place. Definitely the feature of this small field race is the, oh, and Dave Innes there now. You saw how his body weight moved over to the left as that kart was just a little hard to handle. That might have been, can't believe it's the tyre degradation issue. I think that Dave just got himself slightly misplaced and had to adjust a little. 4th and 5th dice remains the best dice that we're seeing. And Russ Johnson really on a charge now. Russ Johnson at turn 1, going through the sweeper, climbing up the Continental shelf, over the Continental divide, so we're dropping now to the bus stop chicane. You saw Scott Berryman in shot previously. He's well clear of these guys, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Dave Innes pulled away a little bit from the other two, but Russ Johnson 5th, putting the pressure on Luis Tarife 4th. Luis Tarife has had an up and down event. He was over a second slower than everybody else in qualifying practice to start last in the heats, but he found some form in the pre-final, but just struggling a little bit at the moment not to become the back marker once again. Nice action shot there of Dave Innes to the left of your screen. And if that big sweep didn't manage to capture Wright Hughes in view, there's Scott Berryman just below at the bottom of the screen, and we saw him moments previously. Wright Hughes is still there, guys, but he's 3 seconds in front of everyone else. Well, 3 seconds in front of Scott Berryman and about 5 seconds in front of the battle that we're watching now. Dave Innes driving for Innes Racing. He's driving a CRG. He has the white helmet. There's Scott Berryman just going at the bottom of your screen. Scott Berryman driving an Arrow. 2 Arrow machines in this race. Wright Hughes, the race leaders, driving an Arrow, and Scott Berryman in 2nd place is driving an Arrow. Then Dave Innes is on a CRG, Luis Tarife is on a Tony Kart, and Russ Johnson is on a Shockwave machine. This is lap 9 of a 20-lap race, so we're approaching the half race distance. Well, Dave Innes now in 3rd place. Will be aware of Luis Tarife in 4th, but Russ Johnson has dropped off a little bit, so that really good dice between the 3 of them becomes a good dice between a couple of them. Scott Berryman just at the bottom of your shot. Here's Dave Innes in 3rd place. Luis Tarife 4th, and Russ Johnson just that little bit further away now. Fastest time in the race, 56.328, has gone to Wright Hughes, but Scott Berryman's in the 56s at 56.7, and so is Russ Johnson and Luis Tarife, 56.7 and 56.8. So there's really not a lot in the best between the driver running last, Russ Johnson, and the driver running 2nd, Scotty Berryman. Here now we see Wright Hughes the 3rd in kart 618. The distinctive white helmet, the slightly unusual upper part of the torso, if you like, at the back of the race suit. Very blank, looks almost as if it ought to have some sort of a logo on. But Wright Hughes not in the business of being a little bit too showy. Is, however, 3 1/3 second in front of the rest of the field. Wright Hughes, all careful folks. Commentators' curse, announcers' curse was about to kick in. I was going to say Wright Hughes has won every race here this weekend in this class, and I might have been saying what he looks as if he's heading for this time round. That was the end of the 10th lap. So 10 laps gone, 10 to go. We move in the 2nd half of the race, and featuring Wright Hughes the 3rd, so far unbeaten. So is right. Oh, and a lovely distant panorama shot there from the Condor cam, and you just saw that was the value of this Condor cam. At that particular point, it really did show you the huge lead that Wright Hughes has, and if we stay here Right Hugus now going to our orthodox cam. It's going to be quite a while before we get the rest of the field trail in. The rest of the field is headed, there we are, bang on cue by Scotty Berryman. And here comes Dave Innes, Lewis Tarif and Russ Johnson. After the big lead of Right Hugus, there's not so many yards separating. They might have said about 120 from second to fifth. This is lap 12, and Right Hugus the third on our Condor cam. And again, you just see how widely spread the drive. That there was first and last. There you see the last place driver as well as the first place driver, and pretty much across what, 1/3 of the total length, this 0.8 of a mile, 1200 metre track here at the track at Centennial. If there's Mr. Right Hugus Jr. who's tuned in or here at the track, your man's doing well, he really is. Fastest lap for him now, 56.312, and that was the fastest lap of the race. So Right Hugus the third deciding that a lead of 3+ seconds wasn't good enough, so he's cranked up the speed and now has a margin of 4.78 over the rest of the field, heading for a 5-second lead. Lewis Tarifa looks as if he's going to tour in. Oh, we've only got 5 drivers on track. Now make that 4, because Lewis Tarifa has trailed in just before the close of lap 12, and Lewis Tarif, the Tony Kart driver for the AM Engines team, will be a non-finisher. Lewis Tarif, driving out of Miami, Florida, leaves the circuit, and the 4 remaining drivers are all now the Colorado guys. Right Hugus the leader from Highlands Ranch, Scott Berryman from Boulder, Dave Innes from Littleton, and Russ Johnson from downtown Denver. Right Hugus is the man in shot. His lead, 5.39, call it 5.4 seconds. Just looking at the range of Right Hugus's times, 56.57 previously, his fastest 56.31. So, you know, for a guy who's completely unchallenged at the front, that's pretty consistent driving. Looks as if he's maintaining the speed there or thereabouts, and the fastest lap that anyone else has done is 56.745 by Scott Berryman. So Scott Berryman really has been finding some speed. Very heavy build, Scott Berryman, so I don't know if he puts up overweight, but certainly is not a small gentleman. Certainly a cheerful gentleman. As we head round to the 3/4 race distance. This is a 20-lap final. Again, we revert to our Condor cam. Sweeping up to the ledges. This will be a left-hander. Down the dip. Past the detention holes. Here's our death cam shot. And there is the Condor cam. Nobody else in sight. Right Hugus the third hits the 3/4 race distance on the continental shelf, your race leader. So we move into the final quarter. 15 laps have gone and 5 laps remain. Right Hugus the third in shot is your race leader with an advantage of 6.7 seconds. 6.7 seconds in front of Scott Berryman second. 3 seconds behind Scott Berryman is Dave Innes in third place, and another 3 seconds behind Dave is Russ Johnson in fourth. And very, very unfortunately, we lost Lewis Tarifi after 12 laps, just before the finish of the 12th lap. Scott Berryman just lifting a rear wheel there. He's not so far behind Right Hugus in overall terms. It's about 200 yards when you might think it would be something of the order of double that. And again, our Condor cam showing you that shelf-like feature of this unique track at Centennial. The buildings in the background, top of your screen, the Centennial Regional Airport buildings. Been quite an active airport today, although today was a Sunday. Plenty of aviation, plenty of aviatic spectating to be seen. Right, Hugo's third. Just saw Dave Innes in shot to the bottom left there. This is our race leader. Well, Wright Hugas is definitely a very consistent driver. The times show that. Not sure he's always the smoothest driver, but he's certainly good enough to build up an impregnable lead here in the Masters class. He starts lap 18 in this 20-lap final, and Scott Berryman is only just going over the start-finish line now. The margin between them is 8¼ seconds. So 2.5 laps remaining. Wright Hugas showing us, despite what I just said, or just to contradict me if you like, that he can put a very smooth driving lap together, and he's doing so now. And still attacking these turns, not just exhibition driving round. His last time was 56.35, and his best time is 56.31. So we've got to credit Wright Hugas with not just leading the race, but giving it his very best shot on every lap. Well, our flag marshal holding the 2 laps to go mark. Something we don't have in England, something that I think is eminently sensible. I've told the folks back home we should do what they do in the United States, what they do in North America. But sadly, England being England, no, we wouldn't want to do that, would we? Sweeping by the upper level, or the second upper level, the highest level being the continental shelf, heading up to the continental divide. Wright Hugas the third. Coming down, our death cam shot, camera picking that nicely, sweeping round to see that. That was the 19th lap. There is 1 to go, 1 to go. Wright Hugas the third. Dropping down for the first of 3 significant descents on this track. Pulling round now to another of the ascents on the track. Sweeping round, and there, that lovely Condor cam shot as he goes right onto the infield straight, parallel to the home start-finish straightaway. Going through the chicane, climbing for the last time. This is the last climb on the circuit. Through the ledges, onto the lowest part of the circuit, and sweeping onto the home straight to take the victory. And Wright Hugas III knows how to celebrate a victory. He's won this one, and he obviously feels good about it. As somebody's told me, a humongous victory. Well done, Wright. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Wright Hugas III, if there is anybody in the circuit environs that he's not shaken hands with, he would like to shake hands with each and every visitor here this whole weekend. Well done, Wright. You came here to do a job. You've done it. Scott Berryman second, Dave Innes third, Russ Johnson fourth, and sadly we didn't have a completion of the race by Lewis Tarife.